Now on 7 News at 4, a new budget has just passed in the South Carolina House.
We're going to take a look at how lawmakers plan to spend your tax dollars. Plus, authorities across the country are warning people about a rise in mail theft as criminals create homemade devices to pull out letters straight from your mailbox. Plus,
we get you set for Furman's return to March Madness. Plus, we reveal the official Defeat Pete cake. I'm Pete Yannity in Spartanburg. That's coming up.
wait a minute, there's a Defeat Pete cake?
I know.
Oh my gosh, I'm sticking around for that.
More.
Well, we do have some serious stuff, though. The weather advisories are still in place for the upstate and western North Carolina again.
It was so cold at the start of the day. It's still pretty chilly out there. Let's check in with 7 News Chief Meteorologist Christy Henderson. Christy.
Yeah, definitely colder than average, but the good thing is that the weather is quiet. Skies are nice and clear. Overall, it's been a beautiful day. You just need a few layers on, that's all. Going to need to put the heavy coats on later tonight if you're out late, and early tomorrow morning. 2 a.m. until 10 a.m. is our freeze warning for the same areas that have had a freeze warning past couple of days, and that's all of us. Growing season hasn't quite started yet in the mountains. That's why there's no official advisory there. Right now we're at 52 in Asheville, 57 in Spartanburg, 56 in Gaffney, upper 50s in Greenwood and Elberton. But by tomorrow morning, we'll expect upper 20s to lower 30s around the upstate, mid to upper 20s in those mountain areas. So you'll need to cover those plants again, make sure the pets have a warm place to stay. Some changes in the weather on the way, though. I'll talk more about that in the forecast coming up.
Christy, thank you. Happening right now, the city of Spartanburg is looking at a new district map.
Yeah, City Council just approved the proposal's first reading. 7 News reporter Elise Devlin has more.
The city of Spartanburg is looking to change district boundaries. This week, City Council approved the first reading of a redistricting map. The city of Spartanburg says they're hoping new district boundaries will come with changes. These are changes that Christopher George with the city of Spartanburg says are positive, like reconnecting neighborhoods that were once split. He tells us this will also provide a more balanced map, with neighborhoods being closer in size than before. The district you live in affects factors like who you vote for, which is why the city says the past year has consisted of meeting with the community and listening to input. The biggest update that would come with this new map includes protecting minority representation and minimizing space between voting precincts, something George says the city pushed to make a priority.
We had a public hearing for the redistricting process at this last meeting, and no one spoke against the map at all. So we've done a lot of due diligence on it.
City Council will take up a second and final reading of the new district boundaries at their next meeting on March 29th. In Spartanburg, Elise Devlin, 7 News.
And Elise, thank you. The city of Spartanburg says if the map is finalized, they will reach out to residents to provide more information on how it impacts them. A 7 News update: a committee in Greenville County has voted to move any books that discuss sexuality or gender transition to the adult section of libraries. This decision is facing backlash. At a listening session last night, community members shared their concerns about the move.
It's a slippery slope. It's a slippery slope. You don't want your kids reading something? Super, parent your kids, but don't parent mine. It's not your place.
What makes me fear for the life of my transgender son? Incendiary diatribes like the one I witnessed yesterday being put forth by public officials.
The decision is not final. The library's Board of Trustees must approve the changes at their next meeting in 2 weeks.
And developing now, state lawmakers in Columbia are a step closer to figuring out how they're going to spend your tax dollars. The South Carolina House officially signed off on its budget plan Wednesday morning. Our Jason Raven tells you what's in it.
Under the House's budget plan, teachers, state employees, and state law enforcement would all be in line for raises if approved later this year. The House voted 108-11 to pass the $13.8 billion state budget plan. Starting salaries for teachers would be increased by $2,500 a year. State employees making less than $83,000 a year would get a $2,500 raise. Now, those making more than that would get a 3% raise.
State employees are libertarians, Democrats, Republicans, and none of the above. Your political party should have absolutely nothing to do with the support or lack thereof of a pay raise.
Under the plan, state nurses, mental health professionals, corrections officers, and law enforcement would receive recruitment and retention raises.
We were short on a lot of the specific positions, doctors, nurses, correction officers, law enforcement, and our teachers. It was better financially to go out of state or in the private sector than to work for South Carolina, and we've made changes this year in this budget that will rectify those problems.
The budget also includes a plan that would once again freeze tuition rates for in-state students at state colleges and universities. In Columbia, Jason Raven, 7 News.
The Senate is set to begin work on its version of the budget in the next few weeks.
There's lots of basketball to be played in the coming weeks, and very important, you have a chance to defeat Pete by going to WSPA.com and taking part in our bracket challenge. Plus, the Furman Paladins prepare for tip-off in March Madness. Of course, standing by live is 7 News Sports Director Pete Hannity at an Ingalls in Spartanburg. Pete.
Yeah, that's right. Of course, Ingalls, our great sponsor for the Defeat Pete Bracket Challenge. Taylor, and at this Ingalls store, I know folks are coming in and getting ready for that. I've been getting ready to try to compete in Defeat Pete. Let me show you what my brackets look like, and you've got to have yours turned in at WSPA.com. Just click on the Defeat Pete tab before noon tomorrow. Make your picks, compete against me, try to defeat Pick. Page 1 of my graphics are up on the screen right now of my brackets, and you see I've got Furman and the College of Charleston getting opening round upsets on Thursday, and out of that the Big 12 and a future Big 12 represented well. In the bottom half of the bracket, I think Kentucky's an upset victim early on. I like Purdue to make a deep run, but well, there's something that tells me that it's going to be an all sunflower state side of things there, with Kansas State and Kansas advancing. And then in the championship game, I think it's all Big 12. I think it's going to be 3 Big 12s and a future Big 12, Houston in the Final Four, with Kansas beating Baylor for the title by about 6 points. Go to WSPA.com before tomorrow. Go ahead and get your brackets filled out and try to defeat Pete. Ruby Downs from Ingalls Markets out here. Item 1, busy on this Wednesday afternoon, but it's going to be really busy because folks are going to probably be heading to the deli, especially.
Super busy. They are coming in droves. There's a lot of people in the store. It's great.
And getting ready to watch basketball on Channel 7. Now, Ruby, you and the folks in the bakery, we don't give the deli all the love.
Yeah.
John, pull on in here. You've outdone yourselves.
Oh, yeah,
you have come up with an official Defeat Pete cake. Is that not beautiful?
Yes, we were up to something. We wanted to surprise you with this beautiful cake.
I got to tell you, it almost looks too nice to cut based on the folks hanging around here from our TV station. There's going to be very little left of that by the time we're done with our work here. But to me, nothing says Defeat Pete more than also saying to the masses who are interested in basketball, let them eat cake.
Let them eat cake. Come get cake. Yes.
All right. Got the Defeat Pete cake here. The Furman Paladins hope they get a win as they return to the NCAA tourney tomorrow for the first time since 1980. Todd Summers in Orlando with more. Todd?
Pete, I too like cake. It looks awfully tasty. While this is Furman's first trip to the NCAA tournament in 43 years, it is no fluke. Make no mistake, this team has earned the opportunity to be here.
From the Southern Conference with an overall record of 27 wins and 7 losses.
Sporting a program record 27 wins, Furman is in the midst of the greatest single season in program history.
This is the greatest team in Furman basketball history. And the reason you say that is A, regular season champs, tournament champs, and when you compare them against all the other teams that were in those two categories, they have the highest winning percentage.
Fifth-year seniors Mike Bothwell and Jalen Slauson are both first-team All-SoCon performers, with Slauson also earning League Player of the Year honors. And playing a part in 115 Paladins victories, they are also the winningest players in the history of the program.
Our winning percentage is better. We've won more games than any team in Furman history. I think that kind of speaks for itself. We've got guys here that are going to be great players, after Mike and I leave.
And Coach Ritchie's resume stacks up nicely with the best in the business, with an active winning percentage above 72%, which ranks inside the top 12 nationally.
3 out of the last 5 years, 25 wins, only 15 teams in the country to do it. I mean, you look at that list, it's the elite of the elite. And I think because it's a little new, sometimes it doesn't quite soak in what these players have accomplished, not just this year, but in previous years and how they've built it.
While Furman is a 13 seed facing a 4 seed from the ACC, they do fit the bill as a Cinderella story. However, we will see if the slipper still fits when they face Virginia coming up Thursday afternoon here in Orlando. We are live in Orlando. Todd Summers, 7 News Sports. Amy, Taylor, back to you.
All right, thank you, Pete. Thank you, Todd. Well, we appreciate that, but the Charleston County Sheriff's Office has some news we need to share with you now. A FedEx employee stole packages containing more than $34,000 in goods. The investigation was opened in October after Verizon Wireless notified the FedEx shipping center in North Charleston the packages were not being delivered. Deputies say Marcellus Hart was taking those packages off the conveyor belt and putting them on his truck. And they say all the packages were electronics that were headed for Verizon and Walmart stores. Hart has now been charged with breach of trust with fraudulent intent. Mail theft like this seems kind of odd in this digital age, but police say they're seeing a lot of criminals steal people's mail. Wendy Gillette takes a look at why.
Very stressful.
Dottie and Charlie Layton recently wrote a $37 check to pay their power bill and dropped it in the same Boston area blue mailbox they've used for years. But days later, the bank called and said someone was trying to cash that same check, now with an amount of nearly $10,000.
They could empty a whole bank account out. We have quite a bit in the checking account.
The Laytons were caught in a wave of mail thefts, with thieves stealing checks from mailboxes outside of homes, apartment buildings, and those blue boxes.
Authorities say sometimes criminals have homemade devices to reach into the slot and fish mail out. In other cases, they use a stolen master key known as an arrow key to unlock it.
Last year, police near Chicago released video of a man opening a blue box and taking all of the mail.
Once they have the arrow keys, they have access to hundreds of mailboxes.
David Maimon is a professor of criminology at Georgia State University and has been tracking criminal groups that wade through stolen mail to find checks.
They look for IRS checks, they look for personal checks, they look for business checks.
Fraudsters can use chemicals to remove the original writing, then write in a new name and amount on the check. More sophisticated criminals go a step further.
Once you have the check, you essentially have the entire information you need in order to manufacture more and more checks.
Authorities in several parts of the country are asking people to drop mail inside the post office instead of in a blue box. The Layton's new strategy is to circumvent the mail.
We're going to pay as much as we can online.
The couple plans to stop using paper checks to avoid becoming victims again. Wendy Gillette, CBS News, New York.
Law enforcement warns to not leave checks in your home mailbox. The Better Business Bureau also advises that you write checks in black ink, which is very difficult to wash off. And coming up on 7 News, a settlement has been reached after a group of upstate students filed a lawsuit against the Smithsonian, claiming that museum kicked them out for wearing pro-life hats.